Well, it's September 21st today, and I'm about to do a 7-day hike survival trip, and this is my beginning and end point, so hope to make it back here within 7 days and see how everything goes. This trail here will take me through our quarter section of land. I'll only have to cross one creek and one beaver dam, and then I'll be up into a hay field, which I hope to get on tape as well. And then a couple kilometers of field, and then I'm into the Duck Mountains. A little further down the trail now. There's a lot of nice color here with the fall. Probably be eating a lot of these along the trip. High brush cranberry. It's hard to tell how this picture is going to turn out until I get it back home on the TV, but hope it's recording well right now. Here's a look at that first creek I mentioned earlier. There's actually 3 creeks on our land. They're all pretty much heavily dammed now by beavers. These will eventually connect up where the beaver dams are and join into one creek. I just call it Broom Creek or Tea Creek. There's lots of different names for it, but eventually they run into the Ruby River, which runs into the Roaring River in the Pretty Valley. And that runs into the Swan River, which runs into Swan Lake, which is connected to Lake Winnipegosis, and then from there it ends up in Hudson Bay, I believe, through the Nelson River. I'm across the creek now, heading down to the next creek. Just wanted to get a shot of this cut block here. This is pretty much what my job has been for the past 4 years, is measuring cut blocks like this after 7 to 14 years of being cut, seeing how well they're growing. Obviously this one is pretty well stocked, deciduous. But I'd probably say 100% of it is stocked. There might be a little NSR area where the beaver dams are on through there. I don't got time to go over there though. It's pretty hard to drag this camera equipment around. Here I am approaching the second creek. It's getting a little dense with hazel in here. As you can see, pretty nice color though. I'm pretty surprised with the weather so far. I hope it stay like this for 6 days. Kind of got my doubts about that though. I've heard it's gonna rain. One nice thing about taking the video camera is it gives you a chance to let it all set in and think about where you're going. I usually do these hikes without anything. It's a lot easier to walk, I guess, but you never really stop to consider what you're actually seeing. Oh, here's that second beaver dam now. Looks like it's all dried up though. I've been doing a little bit of bear baiting lately, getting ready for this bear season here. I haven't seen much tracks, but here's some right here. Looks like a decent sized one, I guess. I don't know if I'd shoot it though. Looks like either some dog tracks or coyote tracks there. Here's an overview of beaver dams. It looks like there's lots of ravens migrating, I guess. They're all flocking together. But yeah, basically this second creek will join up with that first one I mentioned, leading to the Ruby River. And there's still one more creek to cross yet before I'm through this first stretch of walking. Well, here's a shot of that third creek. Of course, it'd be a lot more entertaining to see these creeks in the springtime when they're, I don't know, about right about there on the trees. I've drowned in my quad in this creek actually. That's how deep it gets. It's, I guess, what you would call a seasonal stream. Can't even really tell there's ever water here now, other than the mud and the tracks. Well, I'm through the first section of our land now. I'm off our land, and this is our neighbor Archie Nichols' pasture here. It's beginning to become a lot more obvious to me how hard it is to document this entire trip. Carrying a gun, a backpack of clothes and food, and then the video camera equipment, which is the camera and the tripod. I've only walked maybe a kilometer and I've already broke a sweat, and that usually doesn't happen. I can usually make it to the cabin in one stretch. and not even close to that yet, but I don't know, took a few layers off, maybe that'll help. It's still pretty warm, even though it's September 21st. A bit of a breeze, but perfect temperature. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Well, here's one last look at this section of land. It's really nice land. I really hope this footage is turning out alright. It kind of seems like it might be pixelated a bit too much, but hopefully it all turns out for the best, because it's going to take a lot of work to make this video. Well, here I am now at the top of what I just showed a couple minutes ago, but it's actually been about 10 minutes. Just walked through this pasture. Wasn't easy. On the side of the fence it's pretty grassy. It looks nice. And there, I should have walked on there, or maybe I should have even took this road here, but thought it'd be a little more challenging if I came through this way. But yeah, I'm through the toughest part now. I got probably a kilometer of road ahead of me. That shouldn't be too bad. A nice break in the wind, and then it's off into the dense forest, away from civilization. A lot more entertaining. Who knows what I'll see? Probably some moose, a couple bears. Hopefully I catch them all on this tape. Well, here I am a little further up the road. Still got to get to the end, which is right there. There's another sign of winter coming. All the geese heading south. Pretty typical sight around here. Well, here I am at the end of this road, about to enter into provincial forest now. It's just a little look at some of the private land around the area. You can see there, that's the boundary for provincial forest, and I'm taking a left right there. Gonna be cutting up through some cut blocks, and it's already 6:15, so probably gonna be dark by the time I get to the cabin. Here's a little closer look. This trail here never used to exist. It's for forestry. A path, it used to be an old little quad trail that take you up to Corner Lake and Mud Lake. This one here also never existed. It used to be a little dirt path, which is the one I'm taking, but it's also been harvested and logged. Here's a good example of what happens when a forestry company comes in and does their work. This is what normal forest looks like, poplar and aspen here. And then a couple days of harvesting, and this is what you get. This block is probably 2 years old already. I can't remember what year they cut it. Oh, here I am a little further down the road. Getting pretty close to my next turn point. Here's another cut block. I'm pretty sure this was just done this last winter. Can't guarantee that though. Well, there's the trail I just came from. That's west. Well, that's why the sun's so bright there. Just going down over the hills now. Looking north here, there's a trail. Takes you down to the edge of the mountain, and that way goes out to a beaver swamp. Nothing to see there really. And this is my next trail to take. I'm going to be going through a cut block up here, and after the cut block I'm into actual forest, and that'll be my last stretch to the cabin. And starting to notice a few problems. My edge of the backpack here, there's some sharp things, probably a knife or a first aid kit or something. Not sure what it is, but it's starting to cut into my back, and probably gonna have a bit of a wound there after this hike. And just carrying all my equipment is tiring me out pretty fast. I've never been so tired so fast. My legs are already starting to strain out. Usually doesn't happen for a long time. Even carrying this gun, it's always sliding around. It's getting pretty awkward. But I knew that's what this is going to be about, so no surprises. Well, here's that cut block I was talking about. I'm not even sure, but it's probably about 10 years old already, maybe even more. This is what we'd call a performance survey in Alberta. 7 to 14 years you gotta do a performance survey. This block is deciduous, so it easily passed, but say if they planted white spruce in here and they wanted it to actually be white spruce, everything you see here have to get herbicided probably by a helicopter or something. You'd have to kill off at least 70% of this deciduous. And I've done that job before too, and it's probably one of the hardest jobs. But hopefully start seeing some chickens or something here pretty soon. All I brought for food was actually 3 or 4 boxes of granola bars. I brought Slim Fast bars, Vector bars. I'm not even sure, just bought a bunch of random stuff. But some chickens would be nice tonight. Some ruffed grouse, maybe a rabbit. And I got this gun for a reason if I have to. I'll even shoot a beaver or a muskrat or anything I can. So it's gonna be 7 days, I'm gonna need something other than granola bars. I might just have a chance of getting some food yet here. As you can see, there's a red squirrel here. Acting pretty stupid right now. It doesn't even see me, I don't think. If it doesn't move in 3 seconds, it's probably gonna get shot. Well, it moved, so I'm not gonna shoot it. I don't really care. I'm not gonna bother with squirrels unless I have to, or unless they act like that for too long. But I'll just keep waiting for a chicken, I guess. Well, that's about the end of that cut block now. It's coming up to an old beaver down here. Just selling this old quad trail still. Another 300 or 400 meters and I'm away from any man activity. At one time this was a pretty big beaver dam, flooded out by beavers, and now it's gradually turned into a grassy swampland. I'm sure there's still lots of beavers in there, but probably more muskrats than anything. Well, I'm pretty much away from that cut block now, getting into the dense forest. As dense as it'll get, I guess, until I get off trails. I'm actually really surprised I haven't seen any chickens. Like, once you get into this area, it's pretty common to see them everywhere. Oh, no, wait, there's one right there. Well, you know, once you get good enough, you don't need a gun. You can one good punch to the head and they're gone. This one's done for now. Make a good meal tonight. I'm just gonna clean this grouse now that I got. Of course, I actually didn't punch it out. I shot it. I couldn't get the camera ready in time to videotape me shooting it, so I'm surrounded by woodpeckers right now. It's gonna get dark in about an hour here, so I just want to clean this on. Well, I got enough light to videotape it. Might shoot another one yet tonight. It's kind of funny how that happened actually, because I was just thinking, oh, I should stop and videotape a segment of me talking about how there's so many grouse around this area. And then as soon as I thought that, one was right there. That's usually how it happens too. They're pretty easy to clean. It takes me about 10 seconds when I'm not videotaping. Just rip out the neck, break off the wings. There's not much meat on the legs. I don't bother with them. Of course, if I was actually truly 7 days into this, I'd probably be eating every organ. But I'm not too worried yet. It seems like there's a good supply of food. Just gotta get this last wing off. There's a little bone there I always rip out. Back. And then I keep the gizzard. They're so easy to clean. It's one of the easiest foods. Game birds. And you don't have to spend any time getting ready. You could shoot it and eat it 5 minutes later. This one was shot through the back with a 22 Magnum, so a little bit of damage to the meat, but it's still not bad. That's still gonna taste good. I usually keep the tail feathers. I don't know what happened to the gizzard now. Probably stuck to the tail still. The gizzard's not a huge deal. I think I hear another one now. Maybe I can film this one. But yeah, that's a meal right there. Well, found the gizzard. Just gonna do a quick demonstration what I usually do with them. I take a knife and just cut down the middle. It's all the stuff they've been eating. Cranberries, that's not a surprise at all. Mainly cranberries, it looks like. Cranberry seeds. A little bit of clover probably. So that's one thing I've noticed. As soon as you start to get into clover and cranberries, hazel kind of areas, deciduous, silverstory, all of a sudden you start to see lots of rough growths. And same thing once you get into lodgepole pine in Alberta, spruce grouse everywhere, or around here I guess the black spruce. But I'm not going to film this all because I have to ration my battery power and tape, but basically just cut right along there like that, and you just start peeling it off. It's only bite size, but a little nice appetizer, I guess. Well, continuing on now after shooting that first grouse. I know I don't have much daylight left here. I still got a little bit of walking to do before I get to that cabin, but at least I got something to eat now. I won't have to use all my backup food, which is the granola bars. And I was just going to talk a little bit about rationing, because that's pretty much going to be what gets me through these 7 days. I got a couple boxes, there's a bear track. Got a couple boxes of bars. I'm sure I'll get a few more chickens too, but just even, you gotta ration everything. I got 1 bottle of water to get me through day 1 and 2. And then of course I can get more at some springs I know of. But you gotta make sure this bottle of water at least gets me to the cabin. It's 1.5 liters. And battery power, I got info lithium batteries in this camera. Each one lasts about 120 minutes. If I run out of batteries, there's no point of even being out here, because I'm just doing what I've always done, just walking without nothing. But the whole purpose of this trip is to document it, and without batteries you can't. Same thing with tapes. I'm not worried about tapes. I got about up to 10 hours of footage I can tape in. I've already been walking for 3 hours and I've only used maybe 13 minutes of it. Definitely not going to run out of tapes. Batteries, main concern. There's a lot of mud there. Not worried about food, but another important thing to ration is energy. Because that first hour there was exhausting. Just carrying all this weight around. This tripod especially, you can't see it, but I'm carrying it right now. It gets pretty heavy after a while. But the first hour is always the hardest. And then you reach a point and like get in the zone sort of, and you don't even notice you're walking. Just you're in the zone. You go all day, don't even notice. And that's when it becomes rewarding after 7 days and you still feel fine. But eventually you do hit a point where you break down, you can't stand up anymore. And sometimes you're too far away to turn back. You just have to keep going. And I'm almost at the point now where if something happened, I wouldn't turn back unless it's something serious. Once you get out here, you have no choice. You're out here, you have to survive, basically. Looks pretty fresh to me. Won't be surprised if I run into a bear between now and the time I get to the cabin. Well, here we go again. Another rough growth on the trail. I'm gonna film this one right after that bear scat. I'll be back in a minute. Unfortunately for me, that one flew off before I got a chance to get a shot off. There's actually two of them up there. Looked like it's going to be an easy shot. It looked like it was just going to sit there, but sometimes that happens. I actually heard some kind of big game animal right after I seen that bear scat. It might have been a bear, could have been a deer, who knows. Well, apparently I'm going to get a second shot at this one. This should be an interesting fall for this grouse. If you see what I mean, panicking right now. It's probably going to take a second shot. It's going to stay back here and watch it in case it does fly. It might not have been the best shot, but and it's done, I think. I'm going to move in for it now. Well, apparently got it right where the neck joins the head. Not a bad shot. Surprised it didn't die faster, but nice sized bird. Not too worried about food anymore. Well, after shooting two grouse, so I think I'm done hunting for the day. Probably not gonna see, I might see one more maybe, but I don't even know if I'm gonna shoot it because I think I got enough for now. I don't want to be carrying around all that extra meat in my backpack. It's just extra weight, really. But the night falls here. It's getting a lot colder. I'm gonna have to put these layers back on. I think that's one of the most important things about hikes like this, is having a couple layers. I'm just been lucky with the weather. Couple hours of rain could change everything. I could be soaked instantly. Cold weather like this, one cold night, hypothermia sets in. But it won't be long. I'll probably be sitting in the cabin in a couple hours with a nice fire, eating a couple chickens. So it doesn't get any better than that on a Sunday. Oh, probably just ran into the first and last person I'll see on this trip. Just met my dad on the quad right after I shot that grouse. You know, just a minute ago, I was sitting here looking at my camera trying to figure out how to set it for this kind of lighting, but as I'm doing that, a martin comes running through the bush. I just get the camera on and I just missed getting a shot of it. It's too bad. Would have been a good shot. I haven't got one on film yet. Yeah, I was even considering shooting it just so I could, but there's not much I could do with it out here. So now all that's left to do is keep walking, I guess. And got a ways to go yet to get to that cabin. Well, here I am again. Stopped to get my night supplies ready, like this light here. And I'm also debating if I might have took a wrong turn. I'm in the cut block again, and I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be in here since I don't ever remember seeing this, so I might have to backtrack a little and make a right instead of a left. Never lost too much time though, maybe 500 meters. Well, just making my way back here to where I think I made the wrong turn. I should be able to get back on track and hopefully get to that cabin yet before it gets too dark and cold. Still want to get a good fire going. Still want to cook those chickens up. This usually happens once a trip. New trails start, cut blocks and stuff throw you off and take a wrong turn, and then you end up losing some time and energy. It's kind of frustrating. I believe I found the right trail finally. I only lost maybe 10 minutes there. I saw an opening to the left in the trail split off. You could either go left or right. I took a left. That led me to a cut block. I should have went right. Backtrack. Now I know I'm at the right spot because I'm at a landmark. This swamp, pretty hard to see since it's so dark. But I know the spot. I've been here a few times. I know it's the right way now. And that's all I can say. I'm not going to get much footage here at night other than when I'm at the cabin because it's pretty hard to see things and it kills a lot of battery power to use the super night shot. So this is about all you're going to see until I get to the cabin. Well, here I am. Finally made it to the cabin. Took me quite a bit longer than what I intended on, but I'm here now. I'm gonna go inside and try to decide if I'm gonna make something to eat yet or wait till the morning. Well, here's a look at the inside of the cabin. Pretty hard to see anything at night. This table here is actually going to be my bed. Well, I'm just slowly going to get ready. I don't think I'm going to bother trying to find firewood and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to relax for a bit, I think. Maybe I'll just go with the granola bar idea for tonight. And I'm not even sure how this bed's gonna work. Broken, I might have to. Well, as it turns out, I'm not gonna be the only one living in here. There's a, looks like a barn swallow nest. That was a bad idea. It's a barn swallow nest right above the camera right now, and below it is where I want to sleep, but I don't know about that. I might have to move some boards around here. It's not, the one side of the cabin has been ripped open by a bear. I'll try to get a shot of that. It's not going to be the greatest sleep, I don't think, but it's still much better than what I'm going to be sleeping in a few days. There's the nest. Probably get a better shot in the morning. And there you see some holes in the walls. And I'm going to be sleeping on those boards unless I fix that table up. Well, fixed up the table a little. It might turn into a bed yet. Need a little bit of a cleaning here. Gonna be better than sleeping on the floor probably. Want to be away from those holes in the walls. Not as much wind coming through. Looks like there's been a lot of mice in here too. Just test it out here. Yeah. It's gonna work perfect. Well, that's the end of that day. Got an even bigger day tomorrow. Gonna hit Jumper Plains. Check out, probably spend half the day there checking out everything. There's a lot of sights to see there. An old lean-to shelter that I lived in for 3 days. The Roaring River, TP Creek, the Eye of the Forest, the Salt Lake. Gonna check out all those spots. And then probably move up past the TP Creek cabin and hit McGaw Lake and probably do my first survival night there, McGaw Lake. Maybe see if I can catch a fish or two to eat. But that's it for today. I'm pretty tired. that camera already on? Really necessary to tape right now. Had a pretty rough night sleeping on this table. It's never good. It's never the best place to sleep, but I spent a little bit of time sleeping on the floor. Got pretty cold at one point, so I made a fire. Most of the night was on the table, pretty hard on the back. Maybe it's a good thing for the back too. It started raining, so everything outside is soaked right now, which is going to make this hike a lot harder today. I've got about 65 minutes left on that battery and 120 on the other one, so I don't know how many more days I can make it with battery power. Well, here it is. Better look at the cabin now with the daylight. You can see everything's pretty wet. Maybe you can't see that. Pretty nice cabin. That's Brush Creek behind me. You can probably hear it in the background. It's been here for probably close to 40 years now. So let's go in and take a look. You can see that hole in the wall a little better now. That's why I didn't want to sleep on the floor. Just gonna show some of the names that have been written on the walls over the years. It's one of my earlier ones, 1999, November 6th. A lot of hunters have come through here. I started this board in 2004, I think. A lot of people write their stories. There's my brother's signature. Oh, that one was on a 3-dayer. There's my brother and Danielle's signature. Some relatives. Some people I don't even know. Might be one of the earliest signatures right here. Norman Brew, my grandpa, 1979. And there's my brothers again, 1999. Jason Galbraith, one of the neighbors. Here's my most recent signature, and that's this trip right here. Another one for my grandpa, 1990 that time. There's a trip I took a few years ago back to McGaw Lake. I tried to do that one day and I made it. Another one for my grandpa here, 1980. Another one, 1983. And I don't know who this guy is, Jack DeBoss from Quebec. Bert Cox, Hawk and Arnie, Larry Broom, my dad, Twyla Broom, Kathy. Some of the names are hard to read here, but looks like some kind of trip in 1986. Here's my dad's name and my name. My dad signed it yesterday, it looks like. Mine from 2004. There's Derek and Danielle's name again, and they just got engaged. They're married now. It's my cousin Curtis. I was probably up here with him when he signed that. And my Uncle Roy. Not sure what year that was. It looks like it says 95. This is some kind of horseback riding trip from what it says. The Mullaneys and Mosians and Rooks came in on horseback. This one says Brant Broom 2002 just got back from the caves. And the caves are not really caves, it was just some kind of den in the side of the creek that me and my cousin Curtis found. We crawled in there though, found that it went pretty far. Dwayne Broom, my cousin. Well, before I continue on here, gonna take a look at Brush Creek, which is just about 100 meters from the cabin here. Gonna walk down there and see what's going on. It sounds like the water's a lot higher. Well, this is it. This is Brush Creek. I'm really surprised I haven't seen the water this high in a long time, maybe ever. There's got to be beavers up there or something. Let the dam go or something, I don't know. I heard beaver tails splashing around last night, so there's definitely beavers in here. And I'm pretty sure I've seen fish jumping right there where the water gets deeper, so who knows, some chubs might have been dammed up here all spring and summer. Water's pretty high right now though. I'm pretty surprised. This creek's usually a couple inches deep and that's it. But basically this creek, it comes from Sarah Lake, runs past just runs a couple miles away from Corner Lake through here, and maybe 800 meters from now it runs into the Roaring River, which runs into the Swan River. Well, this is what I was listening to all night. Kind of peaceful. And that and beavers splashing their tails. I won't be surprised if there's a dam right up there. Not sure if those are fish jumping or leaves falling or something. Pretty sure they're little minnows. Probably one of the nicest places to be in the fall time. Great location for a cabin. Short walk and you got water. I've hiked this creek many times. Once you get a couple kilometers upstream, start getting into some big cliffs and ravines. Good bear country. I've seen lots of black bears up there. Actually been bluff charged by one up there. and you just keep walking and you hit Mallard Lake, Sarah Lake, bypass Corner Lake. Well, it's time to hit the trail again. It's going to be soaking wet for the first couple kilometers, and maybe the sun will come out later on today, but that's why I brought these gaiters. Keep my feet dry for the most part unless it really gets soaked. Starts raining all day. But plan is to try to get some good footage of Jumper Plains today and probably do a survival night there. I got a good spot in mind. And then the next night, McGaw Lake. Before I get going too far, gotta make sure I put that fire up really good. Still some hot coals going, so I want to be able to come back here in a few years and do the same thing. It's probably pretty safe anyways, but might as well know I'm here. Just want to make sure all the coals are out. Should take care of it. Well, I'm ready to hit the road again. I've got my backpack ready. Fire's out. Got my gun loaded up. Got a lot of walking to do today. Should be interesting to see how far I can make it. Here we are a little further down the Brush Creek now. I used to cross the creek right here, but it's not going to happen today. I'm going to have to walk downstream a bit and find a logger or a beaver dam. Here's our first look at the Roaring River. I took a little detour to come and see this. There's usually some Americans that come hunting here and set up a camp, but not this year, probably later on in rifle deer season, I guess. But I got to backtrack now to Brush Creek. I still haven't found a good spot to cross. I'm actually standing in the campsite that I was mentioning earlier. You can see the river behind me. Roaring River. Runs all the way down to Swan River through the entire Swan Valley. It's a nice little campsite here. I've actually, right behind us here is where I've shot my third buck of my life. Nice little 4x4. Well, this will take me back to Brush Creek, and I'm gonna have to find a way to cross it. If no beaver dams or anything, I guess I'll have to wade through the water. Got a lot of walking ahead of us yet. Well, trying to find a way to cross this river isn't very fun. Just came through that and probably got just as soaked as I would have if I just walked through the water. Well, this looks like about the best spot for me to cross, but my boots are still fairly dry and I don't want to get them soaked. So I'm gonna have to take off my boots and socks and wade through this water. Probably gonna be pretty cold, but it's better than getting everything soaked when I don't have to. Just gotta go and get that gun now and I'll be all set. definitely isn't my favorite thing to do at 10 o'clock in the morning. The water is freezing right now. Rocks are sharp on the bare feet. Not very much fun, but at least I saved my hiking boots a few more kilometers. Saved my feet a little work. It's always a pain having to stop and take off your boots and socks and then put new socks on. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to videotape it. All the different camera angles. Everything takes me about an extra 15 minutes than it normally would without the camera. But this is part of what happens with or without a camera, so gotta tape it to get an accurate picture of what goes on. See, the gators have kept my boots dry on the inside. Don't want to ruin that yet, unless I really have to. This is only my first full day of being out here, so the rain last night isn't going to make it any easier. It's cold enough in a cabin with walls, with a roof over my head. It's going to be a lot colder tonight being wet now, having wet pants. No roof. I'll probably have a makeshift shelter, a little lean-to or something. But that's about it. I'm going to be sleeping on the bare ground probably. Well, pretty much ready now. Just getting these gators all set up. These are key to staying dry. Working in forestry, being soaked every day, at least gotta have your feet warm. I think the feet and the head is the most important part of the body to keep warm. Once your feet get wet and cold, you can't function very well. You start to fall over, you lose your motivation, you lose balance, traction. Well, here you see where the brush creek that I just crossed runs into the Roaring River. That's pretty much the exact point right there. Right there, right by that beaver dam. I stop at this spot every time I'm up here to take a picture or a video or whatever I'm doing. It's one of the biggest landmarks I come across. Brush Creek and Roaring River intersection. And here's a closer look at what the beavers have been doing. You see they made a little runway going down into the river here. That's where they hit the river. This is just a little oxbow part of the river. Just a little branch off. It just does a loop and comes back into the main river. It's not part of Brush Creek or anything. Well, turns out I got off the main trail again. Some beavers flooded out a part of the trail that I usually cross, and so I had to go around it. And now here I am, way off the trail. But I know the landscape. I know the salt lick should be up there somewhere. So I'm just gonna keep walking until I hit salt lick or something else I recognize. Just came across some Indian pipe here. Just wanted to get a good shot of it. Still not exactly sure where I am, but one nice thing about getting off-road like this is seeing some of these areas you otherwise would never get a chance to. I might even be past the salt lick now, and if that's the case, I'm not going to backtrack to see it. I've already seen it 1,000 times. Well, I definitely recognize this tree. I've sat under that tree and took pictures before, and I'm on a trail now. Just about 20 steps from where I stopped last time. I was here last winter. You can see why it's easy to get off a trail you're walking along. Especially at this time of year, everything's grown in still. You go to step around something, You end up in here, you get on a game path, you think you're still on the trail. Next thing you know, you're not, and you don't have a clue where you are. One important thing to remember, I guess, is when you start to see lots of game trails like this, and they all start joining up and heading towards the same direction, like these ones are, chances are you're going to end up at some kind of water source. Turns out I thought I was further than it was, and now after seeing these game trails, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be coming out to a salt lick, most likely, which is probably right up here. Starting to really recognize this area again. All these spruce trees. There's not too many spruce bluffs around. I think this is the major one. Nice white spruce in here. So, just gonna follow this path for a bit. And it's probably gonna take me right to the game trail, right to the salt lick. It'd be nice to take a break after getting lost for 20-25 minutes. Takes a lot of energy out of you trying to find your way, and you really just have to take your time, because you start rushing and then you start falling and then you really wear out. Just walk slow, think about where you're going, and then know the landscape, and pretty soon you're back on track. Well, here it is, I made it. No better feeling than being lost for a while and then coming out at a point you know exactly where you are. It's pretty rewarding. Gives you a little more confidence to carry on. Now I know exactly where I am. I know there's going to be a trail right over there. It's going to lead me right to the plains, and even if I get off that trail, I know the plains are in that general direction now. I'm going to need water pretty soon, starting to tire out. One way of getting water actually is when you get your clothes wet. You just suck the moisture out of it from walking through wet grass all day or crossing the river like I did. We'll take a little look around this salt lick and then take a break. Then I'm going to head up to the plains. It's a pretty famous spot. A lot of big game animals come through here. I've seen bull elk, bull moose, big white-tailed bucks, just about anything you can think of. Here's a little better view. Kind of grassy right now, but it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of big game animals right there coming through. Get the minerals. It's a good mineral source, these mineral licks. Originally, when I first came out here, when I got off trail, I thought I was going to be in that stand of deciduous there. I thought I overshot it, and then I was going to cut back around like that. But then I got in that spruce bluff and I knew where I was. And all these game trails led me right here too. So, just going to take a break in this tree stand up here. Maybe get some footage of that. Couldn't think of a better spot to put a tree stand. Right near a mineral lick like this, you're almost guaranteed to get something if you sit there long enough. Come up here and take a look. It's a great view of the mineral lick. Any animals passing through here, definitely going to see them. Well, here we are, top of the tree stand now, overlooking probably the best spot in the mineral lick. Of course, I'm a little higher than you're supposed to go. Pretty nice view of everything. And I'm amazed at the battery power dying here. 1 minute it says I got 27 minutes, 3 minutes later I got 5 minutes. Here I am now at the end of the salt lick. About to continue on down the trail. Suddenly I got more battery power now. One last look before I take off. One of the best ways to get across an obstacle like this is to use all upper body strength. It's an easy hop over. Coming from this way, I usually lean into it and then do a push up and then just swing one leg over. Well, I've come across this little creek and I'm getting pretty thirsty, and I have a feeling that it's a lot safer to drink out of here than it is the Roaring River, and I don't have time to stop and make a fire right now. I'm gonna do that later tonight, so I'm gonna find a clear spot here and fill up. It's as good a spot as any, I guess. It's really cold water. The only thing is it might have a little bit of dirt or all these leaves in here, maybe a little bit of a rusty taste. But it's gotten to the point now where I have to stop for water because you can only go so long without it. It starts to burn your legs out without it. That's as fresh as can be. Better than any store-bought water. This is definitely out of a spring. The creek back there wasn't even running, and they're both the same size. So this is it's probably coming maybe 50 meters from me right now. Couple chunks of dirt, but it's like glacier water. Clear, crisp and cold. It's always fresh in the Duck Mountains. I just got clubbed over the head by my gun or camera or both, I don't know. Tripped on that log. Fell. All my equipment hit me over the back of the head. Almost there, another couple kilometers. Well, here it is. This is what we call Jumper Plains. Probably one of the Duck Mountains' most spectacular sights. One of the wonders of the Duck Mountains. A bunch of rolling hills. Across there, where that young aspen stand is, that's where I'm going to be heading next. There's a site there where I slept in a lean-to for 3 days. I'm on a new tape and a new battery, so I'm only 2 days in. Hopefully I can get at least 4 days out of this camera. So yeah, just gotta hike across this plains now, see what's on the other side. One of my favorite things about coming here is that it's one of the few spots that I've been going to since I was about 8 years old. So it's nice to come back every year or as often as possible, and see what's different, see what's changed. Not much has changed, but still nice. Keep coming back. And after spending that much time in one area, you really get to know it, and you can actually find it without a trail. Because I actually just spent the past half hour before I came out on these hills lost again. But I didn't need a trail. I wasn't even the least bit concerned, because I knew just had to keep heading down the valley, and I knew what the land looked like. I knew I was going to come out exactly where I did. And you can't really do that unless you have been going to an area for 10 or more years and you've come out every possible way. Sometimes after 2 days of walking, you start to wonder why you even bothered trying. But then when you come out in a spot like this, or at a lake, or a lot of the things I'm going to be seeing later on, then it's all worth it. This is a site I'm very familiar with. Spent about 3 nights here on one of my high school jumper plains trips. I'll recognize that tree any day, and that's where it is in relation to the plains. The plains are just right over there. Had a lot of cold nights here. I hiked the river one day, and all I brought was rubber boots. Slept overnight, woke up in the morning, inch of snow on the ground. Boots had a layer of ice at the bottom where the soles are, and had to get a fire going quick, obviously, and to do that I had to put my rubber boots on. Icy cold, below 0 temperature, not very fun. Another very familiar site. Spent a lot of time here too. There's the old fire pit. And more particularly, this pile of wood there is where I stayed in there for 3 nights. Very cold, but better than staying on open ground, I guess. At one time, that would have been the doorway right there. I built this probably in about 2003, 2002. Yeah, 2002, and it's 2008 now. It takes a lot of work to build a shelter like this. This big log here is actually a snag, dead standing tree, and I hit a beam across and then built everything like that from there. And obviously that log has collapsed now over the years, and shelter is pretty much useless now. You probably still could make something out of it if you did a little fixing, but not going to bother. I'm going to be camping by the river where I know there's going to be water. I guess one thing to consider in picking a campsite for tonight would be, I got a huge supply of wood here, easily get me through the night. So it's going to be a tough call. Would I want more a warm fire or a easy source of water? I'm going to have to think about that one for a while. Here's another site that I've camped before. I'm pretty sure this is actually the first site I've ever stayed in a tent in, right here. This is also on my high school jumper plains trip. It's pretty nice once you get up land here, looking down on the river. You can see it way down there. Of course, video doesn't show elevation too well, but this is pretty steep actually. Just coming up to what they call the cliff, I guess. One of the most popular camping sites were Rick Wochuk's jumper plains trips, and you can see why once you get to the edge. Amazing view of the river, all the surrounding forest. It's nice color there. No better time to be here than right now. Although I'm not going to camp here, it's still one of my favorite places to come. It's got the best view, the river right there. The only problem is you have to be willing to walk down and up get the water up here. Good supply of dead wood. I would definitely tent here anytime, but I'm gonna need something with shelter, lots of firewood. Because if it rains or something tonight, it's gonna be a long night. Well, I think I'm gonna take a well-deserved break right here. No better place to break than right here. Nice view of the river. I'll probably be out for about 20 minutes here, and I decided that I am gonna camp where that firewood is, where that old lean-to is. It's been there for 5 years. Might as well make use of it once more. It's kept me out of the rain for 3 days, and now it's gonna keep me warm for another night. I would rather camp by the river, but the problem with that is I'll use way too much energy trying to keep warm. Just breaking wood all night, trying to find the wood, gathering it to the campsite. It takes a lot out of a person, and I'd rather camp somewhere where it might be a little colder, but I'm gonna have enough firewood to easily get through the night. Nothing to worry about. Well, that was a good rest. I decided now that it'd be kind of fun and blow off a little bit of steam and do a little bit of a workout on this spruce tree, see what I can do. First, I'll try a chin up here. This is always one of my favorite things to do. Hanging upside down. It's good to know how to do this. Basically just locking my feet together. I could pretty much let go of my hands now. It's good to know. So when you get halfway up a tree, you get into trouble, you gotta know how to get back down. It's important to have fun like that. Keep your mind off the elements, so otherwise you just get frustrated and burn out a lot faster. Entertain yourself. You last a lot longer in the outdoors. I thought it'd be fun to demonstrate one more situation that you can get into. I've been in this situation in real life, except on a mountain, and if I fell, pretty much guaranteed to die. Here, I'm not gonna die if I fall. Probably won't even get hurt. But just say you're walking along, not watching where you're going. All of a sudden, the bank gives way or something. You catch on, find yourself hanging. Pretty hard. Somehow, you have to find a way out of it. The best way is to use your legs. And the main thing is just to relax. So once you start to panic, something will break and you'll fall. So just stop and think about what you're doing. And then find a way out. The main thing is to take your time. I always use my legs first. I have a lot more strength in my legs than I do my arms. And don't get too confident once you get in a position like this. You think you're done, and then all of a sudden you fall. Before you relax too much, make sure you're on sturdy ground, and then you're home free. Well, here we are. Another one of my old camping sites down by the river. I used to camp in there, and then the following fall I camped up in those spruce trees there. I just seen a beaver swim by as I came down here to scout this area. And starting to get an oily skin from being out here so long, so I think I might have a little bit of a swim right there. Well, I just had a swim in that river. You wouldn't believe how cold it was. And of course I get all the way in there, realize I forgot to bring the shampoo. Unfortunately. Beaver working here. It's up on shore eating some branches and stuff. You can see it moving there. Here's something you don't see every day. Looks like an otter. Thought it was some crazy bird chirping away. Looks like it's getting defensive. I know there is a beaver right to the right of me grunting away. I thought they were going crazy because of me, but it might be because of each other. Oh, that was worth the battery power. There you see him again. He sees me. He's pretty mad that I'm here. Just keeps getting better. There's actually 3 of them in here now. I think what happened is when I thought I was videotaping a beaver, I cornered one, and the other ones came to help it. Here he comes. In a survival situation, I could very easily take out probably all 3 of these with my 22. But I've already got enough food for the next couple days, and I'd hate to kill something like an otter unless I really had to. Well, I guess there's a good look at their tracks. Well, definitely got to see a lot more than what I came for. Today's been a great day so far. Never expected to come across 3 otters. Here I thought I'm taping a beaver coming down the hill after getting a branch or something, and next thing you know, it's chirping off in the background. Sounds like some kind of crazy bird or something. Turns out to be an otter. Comes swimming in here, but his beaver stockpile, whatever this is, and then next thing you know, there's 3 otters. Got some good footage. Hopefully it turns out good on the TV too. It's been a really good day. I'm not even that tired. Now I'm gonna go and it's almost 4 o'clock. I'm gonna go and have something to eat, probably some ruffed grouse, and then start building a shelter, a makeshift shelter, whatever I can get together in a couple hours, and then it's off to McGaw Lake tomorrow. Just wanted to get a little shot of some of these aspen. This is a really nice area of forest right here. It's on my walk back to my camp. Take a look at these colors. The camp is over that way. Well, just preparing a little fire here so I can cook that rough grouse. Thing with waterproof matches is once they get wet, they don't work too well. Well, it's always important to have a backup plan. I brought about 10 of these, keep them in my pockets, in my backpack, in my jacket. Have one everywhere, just like knives. Have a knife everywhere. 'Cause then you lose your backpack, you got one in your pocket. You lose your jacket, you got one in your pants. You gotta be ready for anything pretty much. One thing I did lose is my tin foil, so now I'm gonna have trouble cooking that rough grouse. I'm gonna have to find a stick and cook it like you would a hot dog. Not quite the way I intended on cooking it, but I gotta work with what I got here, so it'll be just as good. Except the thing with tin foil is you can leave it, you don't have to watch it. And I was gonna put a little bit of water in the tin foil with the chicken and then mix in some cranberries, and that would give it a lot more flavor. This is gonna taste a lot more burnt. They're definitely not as good like this, but like I said, you gotta work with what you got. Well, camp is slowly starting to come together here. I built a little thing to dry my socks and sweater, all the stuff I got wet. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to dry these boots too, but I'm waiting for the chicken. The stick idea wasn't working too well for the chicken since it's a lot heavier than a hot dog. So now I'm just cooking it on some rocks. Just trying to keep myself busy while I'm waiting. The main thing is keep yourself busy, and then you don't even notice you're out here really. It's just like a vacation. Well, that's one chicken done. Got the gizzards on the go now. Got another rough grouse cooking. Everything's set up almost perfect here. I got my boots drying out. Got some nice fresh spring water, still cold. Almost lost it again. Yep. Time to relax now. Sit by the fire. Wait till my boots dry out and eat a little bit of chicken. Pretty tender yet too, lots of moisture. Duck Mtn water. This is one of those things that makes it worth it. Nothing better than this. A day like today, watching otters, eating rough grouse. It's been Montana umbellus. I may not be a NASA astronomist, but at least I can cook a rough grouse and come out here and still have a good time. Chicken number 2, as you can see, turned out even better. Perfectly tender, moist meat. Got that fall flavor. This is gonna give me a lot of energy. It's gonna definitely help me get to McGaw Lake tomorrow. Who knows what I'm gonna see until then. Still got 3 gizzards to eat too. Well, this is a gizzard, but the other one fell in the fire. This one kind of did too, but I got it out. That's not too bad. Hope we get another chicken tomorrow. Can't imagine how good this meal would have been with a little bit of tin foil. Way better. Well, I'm having a little difficulty deciding where my shelter is going to be. That was my main consideration. I was going to put a roof on that and a survival blanket. But then I kicked those logs a little bit and realized that there's a good chance it could probably fall on me. Back there was another option under these spruce trees. That's a little far from my wood supply. So, as I thought about it more and more, I thought, well, where the fire where I was drying off my clothes, probably the best spot right there. So I moved my fire out a little bit. Now I'm working on building this up high enough so that I can put a roof on it. Don't want to use too much energy. You always save that all for walking. One thing that I've learned over the years is you gotta save as much energy as you can, because the last thing you want to do is tire out and give up. So instead of breaking this stick with raw energy, you can almost do it with one hand. Just put it between two trees. Lean back on it a bit. If you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy. And if you don't have two trees, you can always jam it up against one, dig it in the ground, or put your leg in front of it like this. Give it a good kick. It's really easy. And you got some firewood. Well, slowly starting to look like something. Basically, I'm going to be sitting right here for most of the night. Not a lot of space, but it's really just a backup option. I'm going to sit out here like this, and fire's going to be here. There's going to be a layer of tin there. The heat's going to reflect off of that. A survival blanket. Spruce boughs over my head. Spruce boughs to keep me off the ground. Any little thing keep me a little bit warmer, make me last a little bit longer in the end. And now for another episode of MTV's My Cribs. Well, this is my crib alright for tonight at least. This is about as far as I'm willing to take it. I'm not going to put any more effort in than I already did. It's a lot of work to break branches off with your bare hands. That's one thing I miss not bringing, is some gloves or a small hatchet. I tried using my knife, but it's not worth the time. It's easier to snap them. For the most part, this will keep the rain out, and if not, I got a poncho and a survival blanket. I'm going to set the survival blanket up anyways, just because it reflects heat better. But this is all I really need. If I was going to be staying here for 3 nights, I would have made it a lot bigger, almost big enough to stand in, or at least kneel in, and I would have made it a lot more comfortable, put a lot more effort and time in, but I'm here for 1 night, so I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me now anyways. Well, looks like everything's just about done. Got a little fire going. Survival shelter's all set up with a space blanket. Got some of my clothes there that once the temperature drops in a couple hours here, I'm going to have to put those on, the ski pants and the winter jacket. Yeah, everything looks good. Filled in a few more spruce boughs in the back there. A few on the bottom. The ground is really warm from being so close to the fire, so that's one benefit. And I've got 60 minutes left on my battery, so I doubt I'll make it through this whole trip, maybe tomorrow at the most. Well, here I am, pretty much ready for bed now. It's just 10 after 8 right now. Got a good fire going, huge supply of wood from that old lean-to. Shouldn't have any problems tonight. Skies are clear as can be. Looks like a good night. Pretty nice to sit under the stars and hear the wolves. That one sounds pretty close. Well, 7:30. Had a pretty decent sleep. Slept outside of the fire most of the time. Most of the night, slept by about 4 feet away from the fire. It's a huge fire. Kept it burning good all night. Did sleep in the shelter for about 4 or 5 hours. It's a little cramped in there, but really warm with the tin. It's just a space blanket. The right edge of my shelter actually caught on fire just this morning. So I spent the last 20 minutes trying to get that out. Just dragging logs around. But just gonna let this burn out, and then I'm gonna start walking, start hiking again. Probably the next time I'll have the camera on is when I get to the TP Creek cabin. Should be a couple hours till I get there. Well, here's the jumper plains bright and early. I'm going over there, head towards the TP Creek cabin and Gaw Lake. That's where I just came from. That's where my camp was, through those aspen there. That trail you see there, that actually goes into, across the Roaring River to one of the more famous camping areas. Well, here I am at TP Creek now. Just gotta find a good dry spot to cross. The cabin's just across the creek. Well, here's the TP Creek cabin. Pretty tempting to go inside right now. They have a lot of stuff I could use. They got a map posted on the wall of the area. It'd be nice to take one last look at a map and see where the Gaw Lake is in relation to this trail. They probably have some food stored away. I was in here in the winter and I know they got lots of stuff like that. Coffee, jam, non-perishable food, cans of beans, stuff like that. But I don't want to spend the time to unbolt the door or anything like that, so probably just going to take a quick breather and then hit the trail right away again. It'd be a great place to stay tonight, but I don't think that'll be happening. Instead I'll be sleeping around the fire again. Here's my trail I gotta continue on. I just had to find a way around this beaver dam. See this plant here? I think they're rushes or something, but I walked through about 100 meters of them and take a look what it does to your clothes. Not feeling too good right now. I've got a chicken coming right into danger zone here. Well, I missed it the first shot. It was actually the first shot I've missed the entire trip. There was actually two of them there. Got a second chance at one I seen sitting in a spruce tree. I got it. And the second one was actually even closer, but I never seen it until I shot. And I actually got one earlier, but I didn't want to turn the camera on unless I had to, so that's 4 chickens now. Well, here I am further down the TP Creek after hunting a little bit of chickens there. I seen another one right after that last video segment. This hill here, not as sure exactly what they call it. It might be Heart Mountain, but I've actually climbed over it and cut directly west, I guess it'd be, to Sarah Lake Road. But this time I'm gonna keep following this trail here until I hit Sarah Lake Road. Still gonna camp at McGaw Lake though, probably. Here's yet another one. These guys are extremely hard to see. Let's see if I can take this one out though. Oh, I guess not. That's the problem with setting up a camera and a gun at the same time. Well, here it is. This is McGaw Lake. Just got in here about 10 minutes ago. You can clearly see on the other side of the lake there's some kind of... I was there 5 years ago and there's a moose hunting camp. Just a temporary tent, and it looked like there was a boat launch or something. I'm just looking for any signs of people over there. Last 5 years ago I walked around the entire lake. That area there is really swampy. It's up to my waist in water. There's a little creek that comes out of here, and around that bend there's a creek that comes into here, which I'm gonna go and check out, and it's probably where I'll be getting my water, maybe even camping tonight. Oh, I think I'm gonna, there's a couple spruce trees, a nice little spruce bluff, probably one of the best spots to camp. This area right here is what I'm interested in. It's nice and open, and if some crazy wildlife, a moose or a bear comes by, I'll have a clear shot at it. Probably in maybe an hour, might have something to eat, and then I'm gonna hike around halfway across the lake. I'm not gonna go all the way around because I don't feel like walking in bog unless I had to, and I don't really have to, so I'm gonna stay dry. There's a nice hill at the end that I'm gonna go and get a shot overlooking the entire lake. Just building a shelter here. Looking across the lake, see a big bull elk staring right at me. Elk has been bugling a lot. I think it's finally gotten tired of sitting there. It's been sitting there for the past 20 minutes, drinking water. Maybe it's gonna come around on my side now, that'd be nice. Get some better close-ups. Well, here it is. This is what I've come up with. Had 2 solid white spruce here with a little bit of space between them. And I want my fire right here so it reflects heat off the trees, and I made a wall There's a big solid piece of birch bark there, and everything's layered with spruce boughs. Probably not the best location, but I had to work with what I had, and what I had was hazel, alder, and spruce boughs. So 2 spruce being already there makes it that much easier to close in an area. And I'm basically going to be laying down like this. Fire right there, a couple feet in front of me. If it rains, I got overhanging branches there. I'm surrounded by spruce boughs right now, so the wind won't hit me from either direction. And the heat's going to be reflecting off, and I even have a space blanket still. So I'm pretty safe out of the elements. Just give you a better idea here what I did. Really thick layers of spruce boughs. I got this piece of birch bark has a backrest, and behind that there's a couple logs. And come around to the other side, you'll see that I actually started with alder and hazel to make a layer, and then I weaved in spruce boughs from there. Behind the 2 spruce, put in a big log, a couple other logs, and I weaved in branches in there. So as you can see, like, there's barely any space in between. It's gonna keep the rain out good. At the bottom there's a little bit of space, but that's fine. I'm just worried about wind. The fire will keep me warm. It's gonna reflect heat really well. Come around. I got my fire ready, and I stocked a little bit of wood. Got the lake right there. Easy water source. I'm gonna have to boil some water tonight. Come around to this side, you see the same thing. Alder branches, hazel branches, stuck right into the ground, has a base, a back wall, and then it's filled in with spruce boughs from there. Well, this is the start of my tour of McGaw Lake. Not everyone gets this view, because not everyone is willing to climb 20 feet off the ground up this birch. If I fall now, I'll definitely get hurt and I'll break my video camera. But I just wanted to get up here, show the amazing view. Of course you can't see the entire lake, but you can see most of it from up here. My camp is right over there in those trees. That's the birch tree I was just in. Well, I passed that bend now, and looking that way, that's the hill I'm gonna climb up. Really dense with hazel, it's a pretty tough climb. And that's pretty much the whole lake. Once I get on top of that hill, you'll be able to see a clear shot of the entire lake, no problem. Here it is. Best view you can imagine of McGaw Lake, other than that one tree moving away. This is the entire lake. I just walked probably about a good kilometer and a little bit more probably to get here. Everything below me is solid hazel, and then there's swamp, and then the lake. McGaw Creek, I think it's called, is just to the right of me, so I'm gonna go and take a look over there next. Considering climbing one of these trees to get a better shot of the lake, but we'll see. Well, the view doesn't get much better than this. I just climbed about, let's say, 40 feet. Well worth the shot though. I'm above that spruce tree now. That one was pretty tall. Lost my lens cap. It's pretty hard to climb with a video camera, and you get scratched up quite a bit. May not be as high now, but certainly a good view of the lake. The creek's just right over this way. Well, this is the creek. The beavers have dammed it up. Runs into the lake there. Or actually, I mean, the creek runs out of the lake. Another look at the creek leaving the lake. Well, I followed that little, I'm on the other side of the lake now, and I went to that little opening that I showed you at the beginning of McGaw Lake, and this is what I found. It looks like a temporary camp. It's got a wood stove. There was a little trail coming in from the lake. Just looked like an elk path, but I started following it thinking I'd find another lake or a swamp or something. This is what it led me to. Well, here I am, opposite side of the lake from my camp. This is what I meant by bolt launch earlier. It's a little grassy opening there. And I remember last year there was actually an old canoe or something there. And that cabin I just showed you is up this trail. That's where it is in relation to the lake. That's the far end there. This is where that elk was bugling. There's a little creek there. Someone actually made sawed a little log across it for a bridge. Otherwise I would have had to do a lot of walking to get around it. And I figure I might as well walk around the whole lake now. I'm 3/4 done. It's probably shorter to get back to my camp this way than to go all the way back around. I'm nearly all the way around now, coming into the low area where it's going to be really boggy. Really thick hazel to walk through. And that's that hill I was up on. I think that taller third one from the left is the one I climbed. As I got closer to the north end there, started noticing some old chainsaw cut down logs, and I thought I might be on an old trail or something, so I started following it. And I believe I'm at a place they call Three-Way Swamp now. And I'm gonna keep following this and see where it goes. Well, it turns out taking that trail was a bad idea. I just walked for probably 2 kilometers, had to turn around and come back because I kept on thinking it was going to come out on that other main trail, which it never. I'm in on the north end of the lake now, and you see what I mean by boggy. I've been walking through this stuff for about 600 meters now. There's an old beaver lodge right there. Almost back to camp now, another 5 minutes. I just missed a shot at some ducks. I just caught them out of the corner of my eye. Got my gun on them, and they all took off just as I was getting the safety off. Well, here's a dried up beaver lodge and dam. Not sure what happened here. Well, that hike around the lake completely exhausted me. I haven't been this tired in a long time. This whole trip, this is the tiredest I've been. I got my fire going, and I just boiled a rough grouse. I already ate one that I cooked over a rock. Just seeing if this one's done now. Probably better to use these pliers. Kind of stuck in there. Yeah, it's definitely done. Just see the taste difference, I guess, between one that's been boiled in this tin can compared to one that's been cooked over a rock. It was boiled in lake water, keep in mind. Still very good though. It's amazing how eating one chicken can restore your energy so fast. I was completely flushed when I got here, just completely dead. Ate that one chicken and right away I felt like I had lots of energy again, so still got 2 more to go. One thing I forgot to mention is I actually brought a soup base, dry soup mix, because I was going to use it to cook chickens, but I forgot about it until now. I just found it. And I cooked the first 2 without it, but this third one here, that's what's left of it. I just ate, I just boiled the soup in the tin can and then put the chicken in halfway through, and it's really good. But now the problem is I got all that soup mix and no spoon, so there is one way of eating it still. All you have to do is take this It's what's left of the breastbone. Works great as a spoon. I still got all of that food in there. Don't want to just waste it because it's still pretty hot. And there's a gizzard actually. It's just like a stew. There's bits of chicken, gizzards, pasta. You have a lot of energy now. And it's got a salty taste, so that's good. All the walking, you need lots of salt. Lots of salt and lots of water. Works perfect as a spoon. It's got that cup shape. Sure glad I found that in my pack. I made that third chicken just about perfect. Now I got all of this. It's gonna give me another 20 kilometers tomorrow. I've already probably done 40 kilometers. Considering all the detours and getting lost and going around lakes and all of that. Actually tonight there's gonna be an extra interesting challenge that I never planned. Turns out I lost my flashlight at the last campsite, or along the trail somewhere, I don't know. But the worst thing about not having a flashlight is your fire goes out. You start to get cold, you get up to look for wood, and if you have to wander off in the bush to find more wood, then it's pretty hard to do without a flashlight. My last campsite, it was no problem because I had such a huge supply of wood. I could just walk 10 feet, grab another log, and as you've seen, I had plenty enough wood in my last night's challenge. But tonight's going to be a little more difficult. I'm just going to have to keep the fire going strong all night so it provides enough light for me to wander around a bit and grab more logs. And after I'm done eating here, I'm going to have to stockpile a ton. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. I got 2 kilometers back to the main trail, the TP Creek Trail, and then I'm heading south till I hit Sarah Lake Road, and I'll probably camp overnight there. And I've got about 25 minutes left on my battery, so I should be able to get most of tomorrow in just short little clips. Gonna go and hang out on the tree for a minute. When you lock your legs tight enough, you can let your whole body hang out when it looks like the world's upside down. Ah, sign that there's fish in here. Diving duck. Easy shot right now, but I don't feel like waiting out there and getting soaked right before night. Plus I've already ate 3 chickens. Amazing scenery right now. Probably as close as he's gonna get. Not even sure what kind it is because it's so dark. Probably be able to tell once I see this on TV. A beaver just swam by earlier, but I missed it. The water is as still as glass right now. Well, one last look at the lake, and then I'm going to have to shut the camera down. So I only got 20 minutes now to get me through tomorrow. So hopefully that's enough footage. I should only need it for about 10 minutes really, just to show me leaving and then show me interesting points or any wildlife I see. So maybe 2 minutes in the morning. Thought I seen a duck right there, but looks like it's actually just a bunch of fish jumping. Nice night to be out. I don't even really want to be at my shelter right now. Hey! Well, here I am, one last look at the lake before my battery dies here. Here I am, along TP Creek again. Stumbled across a camp. Looks like a bear actually went through here. There's a tent on the ground over there and a sleeping bag here. Well, I'm at a point now where I have to cross the TP Creek. It's right down at the bottom of this hill. Camp was on top of this hill. So I gotta go down there, cross the creek right there, and I should hit Sarah Lake soon. I'm squeezing every second I can out of these batteries. Been holding them in my hand, warming them up, trying to get as much life out of them as I can. There's only maybe a minute left. Well, when I cross that creek, I hate when it happens, but there's a split. I could either go left or keep going straight. I took the straight way since it's going west towards Sarah Lake Road. It might get me there faster, but I'll be really disappointed if it disappears into nothing now, because then I'll have to backtrack over an hour or maybe more. And this is actually a mineral lick I found, and right now I'm sitting in a tree stand overlooking the mineral lick. The trail continues kind of to the southeast, but hopefully it curves back around west. Just another view of the salt lick. Lots of game coming in here. I did end up finding a trail going to the west. I hate taking the risk of not knowing which way is fastest or which way just leads to a lake or swamp. You never know when a trail's just going to end and then you have to turn around. Well, I don't care if this is the right trail or not anymore. I just found myself a Pepsi, 1 bottle of water, 3 bottles of water, and I've never been on this trail, but it is going directly west, and there's horse tracks, there's quad tracks. There's got to be good access into here, and I'm guessing that access is Sarah Lake Road, probably 5K maybe. Well, I came across a small little beaver dam, or maybe even a lake. Probably doesn't have a name because it's probably considered a beaver dam, but I'm going to call it Survival Lake, since that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm almost positive that beyond those aspen right there, it's probably a bigger lake, or maybe a big valley or something, but it's not worth my time to go and check it. And I also think I heard some kind of, maybe a chainsaw or some other forestry stuff going on, so chances are I will survive this yet. Well, just moments ago, I shot 2 ducks in this beaver dam behind me. One was a mallard, one was a green-winged teal. The mallard flew out into the middle and then died. It's floating upside down right now. The green-winged teal went into the grass. Just as I got up to it to pull it out of the grass, it swam out into the middle and then flew across to the middle like the other one and disappeared into the grass over there. And I'm not going to wade out into the water right now since the water's freezing cold. Here's a sign that I'm getting closer to Sarah Lake Road. I'm in a deciduous cut block now. Just came out right over there. That's where that beaver dam was where I shot the ducks. So it's looking good. Not too long and I'll be on the road hopefully. Well, 4 hours after starting walking from McGaw Lake, here I am on our road. I don't think this is Sarah Lake Road, but I'm sure it'll lead me to it. Not really sure where I am right now. I just came out of that cut block. So I guess I just gotta start walking and figure out where I'm going here. Hopefully I'm going the right way. Well, I guess this is the creek that the trail has been following. I'm on a bridge right now. Still don't know exactly where I am, so still got a bit of work to do. Well, here, still not even sure which road I'm on, but I imagine after this gate I should be on Sarah Lake Road. The thing with gravel roads is I walked about probably over 40k on bush trails and my legs felt fine and great. I've been maybe 3 kilometers on this gravel road, probably a little more. And every step goes right into my knees. You feel the impact. Wears you down a lot faster than the bush trails do, that's for sure. But, well, I came out at this intersection of designated Road Z, and I believe this is Sarah Lake Road. Here I am at kilometer 13. I'm a lot further than I thought it was. Sarah Lake. Well, finally made it to Sarah Lake. Looks like a pretty windy day. There's been some changes. They're working on. Well, that stretch from Sarah Lake actually went to kilometer 3, so it was 10 kilometers. Well, what a beautiful sight. I'm no more than 5 minutes from my house. Well, here it is. I survived. Made it home.